Welcome back, guys. This is Connor with StudySkills.ie, and this is lecture 4 of the second section, the What to Learn section. In this lecture, we're going to focus on the actual process that you need for finding out what is required of you, what you need to learn for your exams. Now, the process of finding out what to learn begins by breaking down your examination papers. And this is because at least 80% of what you will be asked in your exam will have already been asked in the previous exams. Now, does this mean that you're going to have to learn all of the answers to every question in every Leaving Cert paper? And of course you won't. You are never required to answer all of the questions in your paper, so you're always going to have a choice of what you want to learn and prepare for. Now, choosing what to learn is an easy process if you're able to break down your examination papers. Of course, most people aren't, and that's why we really need this lecture to focus on how do I break down these papers. So each paper is kind of broken into into sections and categories. For example, your geography exam paper is broken into short questions and long questions. Now, if you just take the long questions, you can see that they too are structured into categories. And what most students fail to recognize is that within each category, there's very little variation of what can be asked of you. So what I mean is, if you took a paper as its whole, you would see that there's a lot of diversity in each different paper. However, if you break down each paper into their corresponding categories, you will notice that there's very little actual variation. Now, here's an example that I gave you from before, the geoecology category of the Leaving Cert geography paper. Now, if you want, you can pause the video and just run through these questions. I'm not going to read them out again, but this is the questions from 2009, 2008, 2007 and 2006. So these are 4 years of questions in the geoecology Leaving Cert examination paper. And what I've done is, or what you do is, after you've written down all the questions on a topic from the last 4 to 5 years, you're going to begin to see trends if you pick out the keywords of each question. And then what you'll notice is, although the questions may, and though sometimes they're not, worded differently, the information that is required, i.e. the answer, is exactly the same. So again, here's the same example from the geography paper, and what I've done is I've organized the questions by keywords. So in this first example, we've got 2006 to 2009, and just look at how every year the following keywords are evident. We've got biome, human activity, we've got human activities and biome, we've got main characteristics and biome, we've got biome again, then we've got main characteristics and biome, then we've got human activity and biome. So you can see that what's being asked of you is the same every single year. It just may be worded a little bit differently. Same with the next category, which is soil. So as you can see, from 2006 to 2009, we've got soil, and then we've got influence the soil, then we've got accelerate soil, and accelerate is another word kind of for influence. Then we've got influence and soil again. Then we've got affect soils, which again is in the category of influence and accelerate. Then we've got general composition and characteristics and soil, and then we've got influence and soil again. So you'll see that in this section, the questions are also very similar. Now, if you were to examine these questions like I have done, and if you were to examine most of your Leaving Cert exams, you'll find that there are usually 2 or maybe 3 specific questions that are asked every single year in relation to your topic, and in this example it's geoecology. And this is because, like most topics for your Leaving Cert, there's very little else that can be asked of you. So again, here are the 2 questions if you were to break down geoecology that you would find are asked pretty much every year. And they are, number 1, examine the main characteristics of a biome you have studied and how it has been altered by human activity. And number 2, examine 2 ways natural activities or human activities influence the soil. So if you are actually able to answer these two questions, then you're well on your way to getting an A in this question. And this process works because each Leaving Cert exam is broken into various categories and topics. However, most students fail to understand this because they fail to thoroughly examine their past Leaving Cert papers. And what's hugely important here, guys, is if you get nothing else from this course, please try and realize one thing, and that is that the single best resource that you have for your Leaving Cert are your past examination papers. Now, let's just run through the process again of how to find what you actually need to learn for your exams. And it works like this. Firstly, you're going to have to break down your Leaving Cert papers by focusing on only on one category at a time. So you're going to take that category and write down all of the questions that were asked over the past 4 or even 5 years. Once you've done that, find the keywords in each question, and these are the main topics of the question. And soon you're going to see a pattern arising. Even after 2 or 3 years, you'll see that pattern. And then from this, you're going to see that there's only maybe 2 or 3 questions that can actually be asked of you and that you'll need to know the answer to in each category. And once you're able to learn these answers off by heart, then you can be extremely confident of getting a very good result in your exam. So that was that lecture of how to find what you need to learn for your exams. And once you have all of those questions, you're going to need the answers. So in the next lecture, we're going to find out how you get the answers to the questions that are going to come up in your exam, and then you're going to learn those answers, and then you're going to go into your exam extremely confident with the knowledge that you can answer any question that can be possibly asked of you.